Hello students, this is the second session on the topic atom. So in the last video of the topic atom, already discussed about the fundamental things related to the atom. So there we have studied about the history of the structure of atom and about different models. So before going to explain about the spectral series and spectrum in this topic, so first of all I want to recall all the models of atom. The first atom, the knowledge of atom. You know what is atom? The smallest part of matter is said to be an atom. A group of atoms are collectively becomes a matter. So this knowledge is given by Dalton. So this is the Dalton atomic model. Dalton has given about the knowledge of atom. That's why this is the beginning of the atom. This is the first model, and according to Dalton, a smallest part of matter, it is completely empty as told, because at that time he doesn't have a knowledge of electron charges, or he doesn't have a knowledge of the nucleus, protons, neutrons. That's why simply told that the smallest part of matter is known as atom. So later on, J.J. Thomson, he treated an electron as a negatively charged particles. These electrons are similar type in all types of matter. He named that as an electron in the year 1897. In the year 1898, he has given a model called first atomic model, that is J.J. Thomson atomic model. That name of the model is plum pudding model, because according to J.J. Thomson atomic model, the positive charge is uniformly distributed throughout the sphere of the atom. The positive charge is uniformly distributed throughout the sphere, just like a sphere. And the electrons are embedded just like seeds of watermelon. So which is exactly similar to a watermelon. So that's why it is the plum pudding model. It is just like a fruit-like structure. So this fleshy part, eatable part is similar to the uniformly distributed positive charge, and the electrons are embedded just like the seeds of watermelon. So later on, to prove this structure what he has assumed, J.J. Thomson, his student has made an experiment, alpha particle scattering experiment, that I already explained in the previous video. Very famous experiment. So Geiger and Marsden has helped in 1911. That experiment has conducted alpha particle scattering experiment. In that experiment, this J.J. Thomson atomic model has been disproved or discarded, because Rutherford is the scholar of J.J. Thomson. Rutherford has proved that by using this alpha particle experiment, has proved that this positively charges is not present throughout the atom. It is collected in a very small space. The whole mass of the atom is because of the positive charge, not because of the electrons. Electron is a very small mass compared to the nucleus. So Rutherford has assumed that the atom is the electrons is revolving around the centralized mass. Here the positive charge is uniformly distributed and the electrons are embedded. But according to Rutherford, he has assumed that this positive charge is not uniformly distributed, it is concentrated at a single point. This is called nucleus. He named, Rutherford has named this positive charge. The whole mass of the atom is concentrated in a very small space. According to this, 10 to the power of minus 10 meter is the size of the atom. But what the nucleus is assumed, it is 10 to the power of minus 15 meters, very small. This gap now, this gap is very much large. It is around 10,000 to 100,000. 100,000. Larger than the size of the nucleus. It means maximum space is empty inside the atom. That conclusion is given by Rutherford on the basis of alpha particle scattering experiment. So later on, this Rutherford model has been discarded because there is some failures. I will explain in detail in the next video. So later on, Bose has modified this Rutherford atomic model. So Rutherford nuclear atomic model into Bohr's atomic model. So that I am going to discuss in this class, Bohr's postulates. So before starting to Bohr's postulates, first of all, on the basis of alpha particle scattering experiment, experimental results are very important for the examination, because in the alpha particle experiment, most of the alpha particles are scattered with zero deflection angle or zero deviation. So, but the expected results is only few alpha particles can pass through gold foil, but maximum alpha particles can pass through gold foil. According to Giger and Marsden, alpha particle 2He4 is nothing but it is having a charge plus 2e electrons, positive charges. Alpha particle is treated as positive charge whose mass is 4. Compared to gold nucleus, gold is having 50 times greater than the mass of the alpha particles. So the gold atom is assumed to be a stationary. Only accelerated alpha particles are made to pass through a thin gold sheet. So what happens when accelerated alpha particles coming from the source? That source is bismuth source. And to make a fine beam of alpha particles, lead bricks are taken. So these are all the lead bricks. And it can make a fine beam of alpha particles. These alpha particles are made incident on a gold leaf. So the maximum alpha particles are scattered, and there is an arrangement. This is the zinc sulfate plate, ZNS. It is a photosensitive. When alpha particles hits, it can produce a flash of light. To observe the flash of light, a detector chamber has been placed, which is provided with a microscope, which can be used to observe the flash of light. So which can help to find the alpha particles, scattered alpha particles with a different scattering angle. So this is the direction of incident alpha particle. So most of the alpha particles scattered with zero scattering angle. Only few alpha particles scattered above 90 degree, and only 0.14% of alpha particles is scattered greater than 1 degree scattering angle. 1 degree scattering angle. Here it is 0 degree. So here it is certain scattering angle. So it can be detected here. So this is a scale arrangement, exactly circular scale arrangement with the gold leaf or gold sheet at the center. Isn't it? So this is what scattering angle theta. Here 0 degree, when this is what 180 degree, this is a 90 degree position. So this is greater than 90 degree position of scattering angle. So these experimental results can help to modify J.J. Thomson atomic model into the nuclear atomic model. So with the help of this experimental observation, I will tell what are all the experimental observation. Most of the alpha particles are scattered with zero angle. This is the first point. Second point is only 0.14% of alpha particles are scattered with theta greater than 1 degree, and out of 8,000, only one alpha particles are scattered with theta greater than 90 degree. So just we can imagine. So most of the nucleus is empty. That's why. So according to this experimental observation, what they have said is an atom. This is the centralized mass of the nucleus. When the alpha particle is bombarded directly with head-on collision, so that alpha particles will bounce back with 180 degree scattering angle. If the scattering direction, it means this is the direction of the alpha particles. So this is what velocity vector. If the velocity vector is changing from their position, now what happens? This is positive charge and this is also positive charge. Repulsion takes place. So if it is other than head-on collision, it will take in this direction. So it will deviate in this direction. If the distance goes on increases, it means the scattering angle goes on decreases. So like this. So here actually this is the nucleus or it is the atom, even though the scattering angle decreases. If the impact parameter increases, the scattering goes on decreases. Very simple observation we have made. This is what the scattering angle. Scattering angle. Scattering angle decreases and alpha particle decreases like this, concentration of alpha particle. Like this. So this clearly says that when scattering angle, so let us consider scattering angle here by concentration of alpha particles here. Concentration of alpha particles. When scattering angle decreases, the concentration of alpha particles increases. Clear now? So it clearly says that the positive charge is not uniformly distributed throughout the atom. It is concentrated only in a small space. It is about 100 or 10,000 to 100,000 times the size compared to this if it is an atom. Atom size is 10 to the power of minus 10 meters. But the nucleus size is 10 to the power of minus 15 meters. So within a small space, the nucleus exists and it should be heavy. So those alpha particles which is directly head-on with collision with the nucleus will bounce back with greater than 90 degree or 180 degree. So that's why only 1 out of 8,000. So we have greater than 90 degree scattering angle. So that's why most of the alpha particles is scattering with zero scattering angle. So this is called impact parameter. The perpendicular distance between these two is called impact parameter. When impact parameter goes on increases, it means scattering angle goes on decreases. Scattering angle goes on decreases. The alpha particle concentration also increases. Scattering angle decreases. When impact parameter increases, scattering angle decreases. So this is what the increase in scattering angle. So 90 degree, above 90 degree, below 90 degree, below 90 degree, zero scattering angle. So like this. So if the distance from here to here increases, this is what the impact parameter. If impact parameter increases, the scattering angle decreases. So this is what the experimental observation. With that experimental observation, J.J. Thomson model has been discarded and later on Rutherford in 1911 has made a new model of an atom that is called nuclear planetary atomic model. So very simple. The positive charges is concentrated in a particular space called nucleus. The electrons are revolving around the nucleus. Though this is the model he has given. So with the help of Rutherford atomic model, so now let us continue that one. So Rutherford has made an assumption related to the structure of atom. He has assumed that atom consists of centralized mass called nucleus. This is what the nucleus. It will occupy very small space of the order of 10 to the power of minus 15 meter. And the electrons are revolving around the nucleus in an elliptical orbit. Or for a nitrogen atom, he has assumed that it is a circular orbit. Isn't it? So this is what the orbital radius. Orbital radius. So this is what nucleus. The charge of the nucleus is the Ze. The electron is revolving around the nucleus with charge minus. Now the size of the nucleus can be calculated by using orbital radius. So since there are two forces, one is centripetal force, another one is centrifugal force, he has taken this formula EF and EC. So centripetal force is because of electrostatic attractive force. So nucleus is positive charge, the electron is negative charge. This electron is attracted towards the nucleus by using electrostatic force. You know the formula for electrostatic force, Coulomb's inverse square law. 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into Ze into E, charge 1 into charge 2. Charge 1 is nucleus plus Ze and it is for electron E. He has assumed for hydrogen atom. For hydrogen atom Z is equal to 1 for hydrogen atom. Finally it has become E into E square. Z value is 1. We have to take only magnitude, that's why I have not taken minus E here. Divided by R. Distance between the area it is R, because we have to consider Coulomb's inverse square law, which is equal to centripetal force, which is equal to m v square divided by R. So this is the basic thing he has considered. So with that we are going to calculate the radius and velocity square, and that helps to find the energy of this revolving electron. Now R get cancels. To find the value of R, here R. So the value becomes R is equal to, if I transfer to this, E square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into m into v square. If I want to find v square is equal to interchangeable position of it. E square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught m into r. This is the formula for velocity and this is the formula for radius. Velocity of the moving electron and r is the radius of the electron orbital electron radius. To find the energy you know that since the electron is having kinetic energy, therefore formula for kinetic energy is half mv square, This is what the velocity of the electron occupied here. So E is equal to half m into v square is E square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught m r square. 4 pi epsilon naught m into r. You know what is epsilon naught and what is 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. No need to explain here because already you are familiar about these things. In the first topic itself, you have studied about electrostatic, attractive or repulsive force, Coulomb's inverse square law. I am taking Coulomb's inverse square law here. So n get cancels. The formula for energy E is equal to E square divided by 4 2s are 8 pi epsilon naught r. This is the energy formula. Since this is an energy, this is having kinetic energy, E K will consider. And then, since this electron not only have kinetic energy, in mechanics we have to consider two types of energy. One is kinetic energy, another one is potential energy. So you should remember, the potential energy is always double the kinetic energy with negative sign. Negative sign means it is a restoring energy, potential energy. EPA will consider, which is equal to double of this and also it is negative. Minus E square divided by, double means 1 by 8 means 1 by 4 it will become. Pi epsilon naught into r. 2 times this into 2 is potential. Because energy of kinetic energy is equal to how many times? Minus 2 times potential energy. We are using this formula. It means potential energy is 2 times the kinetic energy. E potential is equal to 2 times E kinetic. So it is always negative. Potential is always negative. Okay, so I am using this formula. So it will become E square divided by 8 by epsilon naught r. If I multiply it by 2, it is potential. Double. So then total energy according to law of conservation of mechanical energy, the total energy is equal to sum of kinetic energy and potential energy. Kinetic energy and potential energy. So total energy E I will consider. Kinetic energy is E K and E P. So substitute the value of these two, which is equal to 1 divided by 8 pi epsilon naught R minus 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R. Clear now? It means E square is there. E is the charge of electron there. So which is equal to, common factor is E square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. 4 pi epsilon naught R. Here the first term is 1 by 2, second term is minus 1. 1 by 2 minus 1 is minus half. It's equal to again minus E square divided by 8 pi epsilon naught R, because here it is minus half. Half into 2. 2 into 4 is 8. It becomes minus E square divided by 8 pi epsilon naught. This is the total energy of the electron which is revolving around the nucleus. So this is the idea given by Rutherford. So orbital electron energy, orbital electron energy. Clear? So electron is having orbital value, but this Rutherford atomic model is failed. Why? Because when this electron is revolving in its orbit, they don't radiate energy. If this atom radiate energy, the electron will loses energy. The path having radius, whose radius goes on decreases. Each time if the electron goes on emitting energy in an atom, so the concentration of the orbital radius goes on decreases. Finally, the electron enters to the nucleus. So it means, according to Rutherford atomic model, if the atom radiate energy, it means if there is an emission of energy, so what happens? Whose energy decreases, finally the electron will enter to the nucleus and it will comes to stable state. So this idea is wrong assumption made by Rutherford. Actually this will not happen. So that was proved by Bohr's atomic model. So later on I will explain Bohr's atomic model. So before that, I will tell about the spectrum. So spectrum means the band of colors, the band of lines we can see. The arrangement of radiations in an order on the basis of wavelength is called spectrum. So here you need to remember two types of emission spectra. First one is line emission spectra. Spectrum I consider. Here the line emission spectra clearly says that a bright lines on the dark background. Suppose if this is a dark background, black, no radiation. If there are bright lines like this there are bright lines. On the dark background, if there are bright lines, such as spectrums or such as spectral lines comes in light emission spectrum. A group of spectral lines is called spectrum, isn't it? So on the dark background, if you are getting a bright lines, such a spectrum is said to be light emission spectrum. So this type of spectrum is obtained by taking a high pressure, and if you pass an electron to the high pressure, so there we are getting a light emission spectra. If the atomic gas is filled with very high pressure and if the electron is passed through the gas, then it can produce light emission spectra. So that is an example how to produce light emission spectra. So emission of light. So similarly, there is one more spectra, line absorption. absorption spectrum. Line absorption spectrum. Here, opposite to this, here it is emission. Emission means bright lines on a dark background. Here, the dark background is not considered. The background is bright. The background is bright. But the lines are dark. Dark lines. Dark lines. So these lines are dark lines. Dark lines on a bright background. Bright background is called line absorption spectrum. Here how we are getting line absorption spectrum? If a white light is passed through a dark area. If a white light is passed through a dark area, we get a dark lines on a bright background. So this is we are getting two types of spectrum. Why I am telling these spectrum is, so these are the important things to explain the structure of atom. These are the experimental evidences to explain the structure of atom. So these spectral lines could not explain by Rutherford atomic model. It can fail to explain the fine structure or spectrum obtained and why the energy is radiated coming in atom, why the energy is absorbed by the atom. It could not be explained by Rutherford atomic model. That's why to understand about the structure of atom, you should have a very good knowledge about spectrum, isn't it? Band of colors. So arrangement of the radiations on the basis of their wavelength and frequency. Here these lines are called spectral series. These lines are called spectral series. The first spectral series was observed by Balmer. He is a high school teacher. He used to teach us only for high school students. He has observed, he has invented the first spectral series. Spectral series. Spectral series. The first spectral series was observed by a person whose name is Balmer. Balmer series, we can say. Balmer series. He has given a formula to write the spectral lines. That formula is called Balmer formula. Balmer formula. So according to that, 1 by lambda is the wave number. 1 by lambda, which is equal to, that is represented as nu bar wave number, which can be calculated by using R into 1 by 2 square minus 1 divided by n square. So this is the formula given by Balmer, who has invented the first spectral series. These lines are called series, spectral series. So these group of lines are called spectrum. So this is the formula. It helps to find the number of lines. So this Balmer series contains different lines in that spectral series. So there are different types of Balmer series. The first type of Balmer series is if the value of n starts from here, it is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. up to infinity. You should not start from 2 or 1. The first number here it is 2 and here the value starts from 3, 4, 5. If this value if n is equal to 3, then we are getting first line of Balmer series. The first line of Balmer series is called H alpha line. This is exactly red color. The wavelength of red color is around 6000 angstrom, 6400 angstrom. So H alpha line he has given. H alpha is the first line of Balmer series. He give that name as H alpha. So then what is the value of n here? This is belongs to red color. So red color. The second line, if the value of n is equal to 4, then he has got second line, the second line of Balmer series that belongs to blue color. So that name he given as H beta. The wavelength is around midpoint of the visible spectrum. And the third one is, if n is equal to 5, if this value is 5, then we are getting next line, that is the third line of this spectrum. That is the third line of the Balmer series is given as H alpha beta gamma continuation, gamma, and belongs to violet color. Similarly, if we go and giving the value of n value 6, 7, 8, H alpha, H beta, next values. So these three specified them, H alpha, H beta, H gamma, H delta, like this. So if we go on giving the value, finally n value is infinity. If the n value is infinity, then the last line, this is the first line, this is the last line, the name of the last line is series limit. Series limit. This is the last line, H infinity, infinity. And this belongs to the invisible. Invisible means it belongs to ultraviolet region, UV region. So shorter than violet is ultraviolet region. So this series belongs to ultraviolet region, it is invisible. This is red, blue, violet colors are visible. If you go on increase the value of n, you get a last line that is called this series limit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. Last line. The last line is called series limit. So who has invented the first spectral series? Balmer. So the name of the first spectral series, Balmer series. According to Balmer formula, 1 by lambda is equal to mu bar, which is equal to r into 1 divided by 2 square minus 1 by n square, where r is called Rydberg constant. It's a constant value. So about this formula I am going to discuss in detail in the next coming videos, because after this study of Bohr's atomic model you will get a clear knowledge about this formula. So now you just remember this is the formula which can help to find the different lines in Balmer series. The first line is called H alpha, the second line is called H beta, the next line is H alpha, gamma, etc. The last line of this series is called series limit. So the series limit is obtained when the n value is infinity. So generally later on, after the invention of these the spectral series, so there are different spectral series has been invented later on, but the first spectral series is invented by Balmer. So there are mainly 5 spectral series, types of spectral series, types of spectral series. So in different types of spectral series, the first spectral series was invented by Balmer. That's why the name of that is Balmer spectral series. So the types of spectral series can be listed on the basis of the same formula. I want to write the general formula. So the formula is 1 by lambda mu bar, you can say, which is equal to r is Rydberg constant of 1 by n f square minus 1 by n I square, where n f is the final position of the series and n I is the initial position of the series. So here to find the types of first series, the first series is Lyman series. So in Lyman series, the value of the formula becomes 1 by lambda is equal to r into 1 by 1 square here. Nf is 1, final position is 1. The initial position is 2, 3, 4, etc. Minus 1 by n I square. The value of n I starts from 2, 3, 4, etc. up to infinity. Clear now? How do you get the first line here? Here Ni is equal to 2. How do you get the second line? Ni is equal to 3. But Nf is always 1. If Nf is 1, then such a spectral series is said to be Lyman spectral series. This is the first spectral series in hydrogen atom. So the spectral series of hydrogen atom is hydrogen atom. So the first spectral series of hydrogen atom is Lyman series, belongs to ultraviolet region. So Lyman series belongs to ultraviolet region. The second spectral series is Balmer series. Balmer series. So here the formula for Balmer series already we have written 1 by lambda r into 1 by 2 square minus 1 by Ni square. Here Ni value starts from 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. up to infinity. First line Ni is 1, Ni is 3. Second line Ni is 4. Third line Ni is 5, like that, etc. So we already discussed about that H alpha, H beta, H gamma. First, second, third, last line is called that series limit. And later on, so this belongs to visible region. So this belongs to UV region, ultraviolet region. This belongs to visible region of electromagnetic spectrum. So I will discuss about that in later classes. Third one, so after Lyman, Balmer, Pastel series. So the formula for Pastel series is 1 by lambda is equal to r into 1 by 3 square minus 1 by Ni square. Where Ni starts from, here it is 3 means it starts from 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. up to infinity. Pastel series. The fourth spectral series is, see the third spectral series belongs to, so this belongs to UV region, this is visible region, and this Pastel series belongs to infrared region, especially near infrared region. Next one is Lyman, Balmer, Pastel bracket. So these are all the name of the scientists. They are given the same names. Bracket series. The formula. So generally compared to this, obviously you can write yourself 1 by 4 square minus 1 by Ni square. So Ni starts from 6, 7, 8, 9, etc. last. How do you get the first time here in this bracket series? Ni starts from 6. Here it is 4 means it starts from 5. 5, 6, 7, etc. 8, 9. 8, 9, etc. Clear now? So this belongs to again infrared, but the middle part of infrared region. And the last series is Fund series. P is silent. Fund series. The spelling is PFUND. Fund series you have to pronounce. The formula is 1 by lambda is equal to r into 1 by 5 square minus 1 by Ni square. Here Ni starts from 6, 7 and onwards. 8, 9, etc. up to infinity. So this belongs to far infrared region. This belongs to middle infrared, near infrared region, middle infrared region, far. These three series belongs to infrared region. The first belongs to UV region. The second one belongs to visible region of the electromagnetic spectrum. And the last three spectral series belongs to infrared. So middle part, the near part, middle part and the far part of infrared region. Clear now? So these are all the basic things to understand the structure of atom you have to remember. So to explain all these, this Rutherford atomic model fails to explain these things. To explain the spectral series of hydrogen atom, Bohr has modified the Rutherford atomic model and he has used the concept of quantum theory. On the basis of quantum knowledge, so Bohr's modified Rutherford atomic model. So actually Rutherford atomic model is on the basis of classical theory. You know, classical theory means energy is continuous. On quantum theory, energy is not continuous, energy is discrete packet of energy. So energy depends on frequency, not on intensity according to quantum knowledge. But according to classical theory or wave theory, the energy is continuous, it depends on intensity. So later on, this Rutherford atomic model can be modified by Bohr by using uncertainty principle. He has proved that there is no presence of electron inside the nucleus, and then he has modified the Rutherford atomic model, and the modified Rutherford atomic model is later it is named as, he has almost given the clear structure of atom, that is Bohr's atomic model. So in the next video, so that thing is very important, the postulates of Bohr's atomic model I am going to explain. With the help of postulates, he has calculated he has derived so many formulas. So there it includes the orbital radius value, the speed of the orbital electron, the energy of the orbital electron, and the total energy of the orbital electron, and how the spectral series is obtained by using hydrogen atom, as successfully explained by using Bohr's atomic model. So that I am going to explain in the next video. So with that, I am going to end this video. So thank you for watching this video.